Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the In the Paint Show, presented by Ball is Life. Ani Umana here with Ronnie Flores. Another episode 127. We keep moving along. Ani, how's everything going?
Man, everything's good. It's a slow Tuesday. It's a day off, so I'm enjoying it. Working from home, get to relax. How about you?
Yeah, me too. Working from home and following the NBA a little bit. Obviously, got off a live period weekend, where it's going to be the focus of today's show. We obviously want to talk about prospects. I think that's what people like to hear from us.
Sure.
You know, they like to hear what's going on with the NBA, college, and this other stuff. But obviously, the young players is what people, kind of follow us for, and we're going to give them that, and also give our spill on the players that we followed, because we have a announcement for National Player of the Year, and it's very interesting. Kind of parallels what's coming up with the NBA draft. Who won the award 2 years ago when Cade Cunningham won the award, and we'll get right into it. So let's start off with that. Let's start off with the National Player of the Year for 2020, 2021, and 2022. Obviously, 2021-22 season just completed. So it is Duke-bound Dariq Whitehead earns Mr. Basketball USA. I've been doing a tracker for now the 15 years, and we've been naming the Player of the Year for longer than that. Very interesting on it. He's the fourth player from Montverde in the last 8 seasons. He outpointed Dariq Lively, who's also going to be his future teammate from Westtown School in Pennsylvania, by 21 points. So Dariq got 7 of the 10 first place votes from the panel. Very interesting. Dariq and Keontae George are only 2 candidates to appear on all the 10 ballots. Even though Keontae George didn't get a number 1 vote, he was consistently on the ballot. I'm looking at him right now. He got 8 points, which is third place 3 times. He got a second place vote, got a couple fourth place votes, but everybody voted for him. One guy didn't like Dariq Lively at all, and then, like I said, Dariq got 7 of the 10 first place votes. What's your just highline take on that? Obviously, are you, does that make any sense to you? Does the voting? There's 24 guys that got votes, a little wide open. Obviously, there's not a dominant Chet Holmgren type guy. And maybe there's not even a dominant Evan Mobley, Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, Scotty Barnes type guy. I don't know. Maybe that's not true. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the Player of the Year kind of voting is very similar to like the Geico. Like there wasn't a true like number 1 or a clear cut favorite like you had in years past. I like it with Dariq. I mean, Montverde won. He was the best player on that team. So, I mean, makes sense. Best player on the team that won the Geico Nationals. He's been one of the most consistent players on that team, one of the most consistent players in the country. And I like Keontae a lot. I thought Keontae really did himself well going IMG and playing well. I thought he was fairly consistent for the most part too. But it's interesting, like one not even having Lively at all. I thought that's kind of crazy. I thought Lively, especially in those national TV games where I forgot who they played, but I thought he did good. I thought he was very consistent for the most part. But I agree with Dariq Lively. I understand it. I guess for me, I never really had a clear cut number 1. I would say prior to would be Grady Dick before Sunrise lost in the first round. But I mean, one Geico, top, arguably a top team in the country, even though obviously we have Duncanville. I believe it's Duncanville number 1, but he's been one of the most consistent players in the country, so makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I understand what you're saying about Lively. He averaged about 14 and 14 and 5, which is good. Not wow, great, but again, he's not playing on a team like Dariq. Dariq, his averages are pretty consistent and fair. He did step up, remember, because last year Jalen Duran was the junior player of the year, and it looked like he was going to lead this team. And him leaving to Memphis, along with Amani Bates, who was in the running last year but didn't have the great season that he had. Obviously, Jalen was the junior winner, and Chet Holmgren was the National Player of the Year. When they classed up, that's what kind of opened up this wide open race in 221, 222. Dariq came in at number 5 in the preseason. He appeared on 6 ballots. Dariq led that. So, yeah, like you said, I think Dariq's performances in the All-Star games, and some panelists had mentioned that their performance in the All-Star games kind of put him over the top. He was named MVP at McDonald's. He had 13, 7, and 7. He did play well, and he did really well for Team USA at the Nike Hoop Summit. I thought he shot it really well. He just looked like the leader and one of the best players. And he said over the years, this to me, Dariq, like not making that 16U USA team kind of really like pushed him to get better. He was always at Montverde since 8th grade, so you've seen him grow there, and he was on that great team. We talk about NBA Rookie of the Year, and you and Chelsea were right on it. You guys were like, nah, Evan's gonna win, but like Scotty Barnes pulled it out like in a close vote.
Very.
And he was on that team with Scotty, with Cade Cunningham, who was 3rd in the NBA Rookie of the Year, and here he is, a National Player of the Year, and he was on the bench. But he did average they had 7 guys that year average between 8 points and 13 points. Cade averaged like 13.9. Scotty averaged like 11.6. But, Scotty kind of like mirrored what he did this year. Scotty on that team, let me pull this up. Like, Scotty was 2nd in rebounding on that great team, 6.5. 4.6 assists, was 2nd on the team. Deflections, 1.7 deflections. 1.9 steals. So again, Barnes had that kind of showed in the NBA, like Chelsea said last week, like he was just a great fit in Toronto. So were you kind of surprised by that voting, or did you really think like, oh, Cade won, that's really good, or you were still thinking Evan was going to win?
You talking this Rookie of the Year?
Yeah.
I thought Evan was going to win it just because so much of impact defensively. I thought if Scotty had a chance, it would be because Toronto's in the playoffs. Sure. And, shout out to him for playing through that injury right now. I mean, they didn't really do much game 4 offensively, but had 11 rebounds, gets a lot done. But anyways, like, I was surprised. I thought Evan Mobley just got so much done during the season. I thought Scotty was the best rookie, but I thought Evan Mobley, you just couldn't deny, especially like the first half of the year impact that he made. Kind of like how LaMelo Ball really kind of won it last year from like that first half of the season, that rookie year. But well deserved, Scotty. It didn't surprise me that it was that close because I thought Scotty really covered some ground and. You got 2 kids that are going to be NBA All-Stars between Evan and Scotty. I mean, they're no-brainers going to be All-Stars,
Correct. And then you got Cade, who kind of started slow, and he was voted by the panel the best player on that Montverde team over Scotty. And they would have been good without Scotty. They added Scotty late.
Right.
And that just kind of put them over the top. Like, this is a really good team. Now, this is a great team. Like, one of the best ever. And again, we've talked about that before. We had a previous episode where you can go back and look at it, where we talked to Kevin Boyle and Steve Smith and we talked to Herman on the Baltimore team and Steve Bake from Chino Hills. Had them all on talking about how great. And now you look at that Montverde team, it's like they just keep getting more and more accolades. Like Dariq Whitehead doesn't even start, and now he's a National Player of the Year. So that very cool. Congratulations to Dariq and his family. I know he's won some couple other National Player of the Year honors, so he won this one fair and square by voting. And like I said, he just kept getting better, and his averaged 10.4 on last year with Jalen and that team, and Jalen Durant finished 3rd in the voting last year. Obviously, Chet was the winner, and Jabari Smith was 2nd. Does anybody else's being on the list surprise you for this year? I don't know if you saw the voting, but like you said, Keontae was 3rd in the voting, was solid. 4th was Nick Smith from Little Rock, Arkansas. 5th was DJ Wagner, who appeared on 8 Bass. Again, a lot of people like DJ Wagner. Across the board, he had 3 third-place votes, and everybody else had him pretty low. And then Cason Wallace came in 6th place, 6 ballots. Even as high as a 3rd-place vote. So did anything else surprise you about guys who are going to be on the All-American team?
Nothing really so surprising. You can tell like guys like DJ Wagner, kind of look at it like guys like DJ Wagner would have had a real good chance of winning it. You know, had a slow start on that season. You know, took some losses early, and then that bad one, I guess that was Calvary, correct? You know, it's no surprise, but it's very interesting. It's like you see some of those pivotal games that some of these guys had. Like, you know, what if Kaysen, you know, doesn't lose to McKinney early and they get to the get to the state, you know, finals, then he has a big game against Duncanville, or what if, you know, DJ doesn't have a slow start during the season, you know, like some of those things. Does Dariq still win it? I guess I'm like kind of a what if guy, but it's not surprising about the standings. Just like it's like, you know,
correct.
A couple games here and there could have changed a lot on that voting
for sure this year. Correct. So that's why Dariq playing good against Link in that final game, playing good in those All-Star games made a big difference. Like you said, if Kaysen, if they get back and actually play Duncanville, beat them, knock them off, then it's looked at differently. I agree, because very interesting. Ronald Holland, he only got 2 votes on 2 panels. You know, he only got 2 because again, maybe the balance of the team, and then one guy did like Anthony Black. But again, I think it just shows to the balance of that team. You know, they had other guys step up. They had a bunch of guys average between about 8 and 9 points too. Ashton Hardaway, a few other guys average 8, 9 points, similar to that Montverde team. Obviously, my Montverde team might have been a little more talented, but it's still the same makeup. Bunch of guys averaging between like 8 and 13 points.
Right. What do you think of? You know, they mentioned, you know, Dariq Whitehead's play in those All-Star games. Well, I'm gonna say All-Star games like the McDonald's and the Summit. I feel like Nike Hoop Summit is a little bit more of a competitive. Like as far as the game, I think the practices, McDonald's, and the scrimmages are more competitive than the game. Well, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think, when I saw the Nike Hoop Summit was a big factor. Like, you know, Dariq going 5 for 7 from 3, them winning the game. You know, you want to try to show good against NBA scouts. I think that made a big difference. And I think that's, again, the panelists went all the way to the end. I try to stress to them, consider everything. Don't just make your vote up in December. You know what I mean? In January or whatever. Like, consider it all. You know, again, Dariq averaged 17.1 points, 5.1 rebounds, 3.8 assists on the season. That's pretty high numbers for Montverde guys. You know, they usually have a lot of balance. And then him scoring 17 points and hitting those 5 of 7 threes in the Nike Hoop Summit. And I'll just read what the couple panelists said. This is Van Coleman. He's I believe there's very little separation between 1 and 10. No clear-cut best combination of player talent and season production. This was one of the toughest voting in years, likely due to the class hopping and guys going pro. So kind of what we mentioned about Jalen and Amani leaving, that kind of open. Same thing with Frank Burleson of Burleson and basketball. This was perhaps the toughest selections ever. Not 1 or 2 or even 3 clear-cut number 1s. I gave Whitehead the nod because Montverde won it all at the prep school level. And he was very good in his key games as well as the All-Star circuit. So kind of echoes what you're saying. So I think the Nike Hoop Summit, like you said, because of competitive nature, made a big difference. And I'm glad the panelists took that into account, because it was a open race from the beginning, and there's a lot of guys. So go to ballslife.com, check that out. You can check out all the the results and who made it and now make up most of our All-American team upcoming on ballslife.com. Again, 24 guys got votes. So you mentioned injury in Scotty Barnes, and you know, he obviously Toronto's trying to gut it out, and you know, Toronto, you know, is down. There again, we talked about Doc Rivers. You know, they 3-1 lead. That's not holding. You know, Toronto's battling, but then you go to Ben Simmons, who's the 215 winner, and Ben Simmons was unanimous winner. RJ Barrett won in 218 at Montverde, Cade 2 years ago, and Dariq this year. So go back to Ben Simmons. He's obviously one of the best high school players of the last 10 to 15 years. Again, he wasn't really bought in at LSU. Charles Barkley kind of mentioned that. Others mentioned he wasn't really bought in at LSU. He's having his problems. So like, then he doesn't come back. What I don't understand is everybody's like player rights, the players, you know, they're more than athletes. Now everybody's like just turning on them. They don't give a shit about that more than athletes crap. No more like, God damn, he's useless. He's getting paid a lot of money. So it's like, where does he stand in all this? I mean, what's your take on it?
I just think, like you said, I remember when he was at LSU and there was problems there, just with the lack of commitment.
Correct.
I just think you question his love for basketball, and it's not something that came all of a sudden. It's not when he got hurt. I know they're mentioning mental illness, mental health, and that is a serious issue. But he really just suffers from just questionable love for the game.
Okay.
At the end of the day,
fair.
I mean,
that's fair.
He doesn't. If he knew if he played game 4 and they lost, and let's say he didn't play good, and we got to think back into last year where he played so bad and they lost. He doesn't want what happened last year, where people blamed him for losing. People can, but he didn't put himself on the court to get blamed. Sure. But I just think he just doesn't. First off, the fact that he's still getting paid and he hasn't played in about a year and a half, I mean, we're just talking about a guy that doesn't really love basketball, in my opinion, that much. Which is fine. I mean, there's probably a decent amount of NBA guys that don't really love it. But for a guy like him, as talented as he was, remember him in high school, and even in LSU, just some of the stuff he was doing, to see him be at this point, it's sad, really.
It's sad and disappointing,
but it's not surprising.
Not shocking, no.
Yeah, it's not shocking. So I just think he just doesn't really love basketball. And I think as long as he'll play out through this contract, I think there's going to be contract adjustments because of all this.
That's going to be big. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think he not only negatively affect himself further, he negatively affected the next person that actually, maybe have to really deal with some things, but because, he's at this point stealing money, they can't have it. I mean, he doesn't care to play. I won't be surprised if he doesn't play the first game of next season. He's hurt. It just won't surprise me.
That's going in on him, and that's going in the paint. That's what we're here for, to have a strong take. And I have that take too. Like, he's messing it up. You're saying, like, for the next guy who really does have some legitimate problems or injuries or mental issues. You know what I mean? That's for sure. And then he's also, like you said, a lot of people worked hard to get NBA players to have a great life, first of all, to get paid well, and then to get paid guaranteed. So now you're kind of taking that back. Like you said, the owners are going to say, we're not paying you guys no more. Like you're saying, it's going to be known as the Ben Simmons rule. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's going to be known as the Ben Simmons rule. Like, the owners are going to be like, this is the owners are doing, fitting out. So when we go to that collective bargaining table, we're going to have the leverage. And guess what's going to happen, Ani? This time the fans are going to be on their side. They're going to be like, you guys can't just pay these guys and not playing. Like, they're going to get the leverage, all this leverage that the LeBron era worked for. Like we talked about, like the players having the power in the LeBron era, like Ben Simmons, the Ben Simmons era. Like, people are not going to go for the load management like people already don't like the load management. I feel like I'm a hardworking dude. My dad and my parents are hardworking dudes. I can't go to an NBA game and the dude I want to watch ain't playing just because he ain't playing.
Right.
Like, if he's legitimately injured, say, he's out for a month, I get it, he's injured, but you're just sitting out. Like the fan, I know Spurs kind of went through that with Ginobili and Parker and those guys, but like that shit ain't gonna fly forever. You know what I mean? Like not at this level of money. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, and you gotta think about it. NBA tickets aren't cheap. For you to get NBA ticket, let's say you want to go watch, like, that's aren't cheap. To get a Dallas Mavericks ticket, a good ticket, it's not cheap. Like I was at the playoff game 2. I mean, those are very expensive. So imagine like paying all that money to go watch a playoff game, and that player, or let's say playoff, but just a regular season game are expensive, and he doesn't play because of load management. At some point, and then what is load management when he only plays like 10 games that year? Like, are we really doing load management, or are we just like, whatever? Like,
BSing.
Like, what if, like, he had to miss 70 games, 72 games? That's load management? What are we talking about? Like,
that's not load management. Yeah. So it hurts. We'll see what happens. We'll come back, talk about the players. Then we want to talk about a little bit, jump into the our main in the paint topic, which is the grassroots scene.
sure.
And we're going to have a guest who's a coach on the grassroots level and the high school level, Brice Fantazia from Modesto Christian High School in Northern California. And we're going to get his take. He was at the Under Armour Association. And, Ani, talk about what you did and where you were, and then we'll jump into that a little bit.
Okay, yeah, I was in Dallas again this weekend, Great American Shootout. It's so crazy. I had somebody in Indy as well for EYBL. I got my young guy, Mark Cooper. But it's so interesting. Like, I would say the most valuable player outside of the transfer portal is a really good unsigned senior and a top 100 2023 kid. I realized, like, this session was so different because there was so many coaches there to see an unsigned senior. Obviously, we didn't have a lot of top one. Like, we had Houston Hoops, 16U, 15U, Live On, 15U, 16U. So we had some really good young talent, but a lot of coaches came to see a really good 2022. Or, there was like a top 100. There was like a really like a borderline high major 23 that just stayed. But yeah, that's where I was at. How about you?
Yeah, I was in Southern California. Like you said, there's some couple players that coaches, they were out more a little bit. I think in the first session, they got maybe some of those transfer portal visits out of the way, or now they're locking in and getting ready for the scholastic period and for the summer. They want to make their, make the inroads on the guys. And the thing I try to tell people, and I'm going to say right here on the pod, it ain't like, we're looking at portal guys, so we're not going to recruit. They're going to have to recruit more guys.
For sure.
I say this because when they get them on this transfer portal, if they don't have a relationship already, they're done. They're not going to get them. They got to make that connection now. So that's what they're doing. Again, there's always going to be guys that are like, hey, where's he going to go on the bounce back? That level's too high for him. Or, hey, he's developing real good. That level's too low for him. So that's what they're going to have to keep that chain of communication open with high school coaches, with the travel coaches, because if they don't have that connection, when that kid goes in the portal, Ani, they're not going to get him, or better yet, they're not going to let that coach know that they're going to the portal.
Right.
Somebody has first dibs, like, hey, this kid's going to be in the portal this year, so you want to start making that connection. So let's bring in Brice Fantazia because he has a very unique situation. He coaches on the UAA Association, and he has players that are at Nike, and he has players that are at Adidas. So, Brice, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys. Thanks for having me.
That's good, Brice.
You coming on, Coach. Thank you for taking the time to come on the In the Paint show. Just talk about, you were obviously at UAA, and just talk a little bit about that. And glad you make it back home in one piece. I know a lot of people had some travel problems. So
yeah, the SoCal team got stuck out there. So I think they just got home. So
wow,
yeah,
they just got home on Tuesday morning.
Yep.
Wow. Yep. Wow. Yeah.
So
that's tough. So just talk about the event and just the feel of it. Was it a full slot of coaches, or was there a couple guys from each staff? What did you kind of take, and what did you see in your time out there?
Yeah, I mean, I was very impressed. The Under Armour circuit's the one circuit I've kind of never been around. With the Chuck Hayes program, it was the Adidas program. Then obviously, a lot of my guys have played on the EYBL, and I've seen them play and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, it was a well-ran event.
Great.
Very professional, and a lot of college coaches. I didn't see any full staffs, but there was a lot of, 2 guys from the staff, head coach, associate there, stuff like that. And, you could tell you have some college coaches that they're at the Under Armour, then they're flying to South Carolina to the Adidas one, stuff like that. So, but yeah, there was a lot of coaches, and player-wise, there's players everywhere. The Under Armour circuit, there was some really good talent, just like there is on the Adidas and the EYBL circuit. So I was very impressed.
Yeah, what was the key to West Coast League going 4-0 at the 17U level and winning the MB division in Kansas City? What was the key for your guys' team? And what were the standouts?
I mean, I think kind of the head of the snake, Ryan Beasley at Daughtry Valley. I think he's one of the more under-recruited, underappreciated kids on the West Coast. I was telling a couple college coaches who asked me about him. If he was 3 inches taller, he'd have every program on the West Coast on him. Yeah, he's kind of the guy that just got us going, and he just does a little bit of everything. He's always around the ball, and it kind of reminds me of BJ Davis, one of my guys. Like, they're just always around, active hands. So he was our leader, but Courtney Anderson was terrific. Morsek who's going to Hawaii from Prolific. He was with us this weekend. Obviously, his size was outstanding. But, I think, the boys from NorCal, we told them before, Coach Walker, Coach Cole, you got to have a chip on your shoulder. I think sometimes kids from California get the soft rep. And we just wanted to make it clear that, we're not soft. And we came out and we played tough, played together, and went 4-0.
Yeah, that's good.
Coach, talk about, this is the first time in a while that we had the spring, like the April live period. I know a few weeks ago that was the first time, and this being the last one till the Scholastic, and then you got July. What do you just tell your boys when they're playing in front of these coaches and just like there's so much pressure, like these boys get so many people in their face.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, what do you just tell them like prior to? I mean, because going 4-0 is not easy at all, especially in the circuit.
Yeah, no, you know how it is, and especially the way Under Armour did it was a tournament bracket style. So you win more games, more coaches show up. They want to be on the winner side, seeing winners play, not losers. So just stress that to the kids and just tell them relax and don't try to do anything out of the norm. Don't try to do something you're not capable of. Play to your strengths, play together, and just empty the tank, leave it all on the floor, and that's what college coaches want to see. That's how they get paid or fired based off getting kids that can do that or not do that. So
gotcha.
Pretty much it.
Coach, besides obviously Ryan's about 5'11", 5'10".
Yeah. Plays like he's 6'2".
Yeah, he's big. I mean, he had a great junior year. I mean, just talking to high school coaches, they're like, Ryan Beasley's got to be on your all-state team. Like Ryan Beasley, I would recommend Ryan Beasley. So yeah, he had like a really good season. So what other players improved their recruiting with West Coast League, even if it's the 15 or 16s, that you that traveled with you guys, if they did, what other players kind of up their stock or you thought played really well?
Yeah, I thought there's a kid at Rancho Verde, Robert McFarland, that I don't think very many people know about. I had never really seen him. I saw him at practice last weekend, and then obviously played with us this weekend. He's not a guy that's going to go out there and score 20. You're not going to throw him the ball back to the basket. He doesn't stretch the floor or anything, but he's just all over the place, blocking shots, rebounds, runs like a deer. He's a kid who, the portal is going to hurt a kid like that is going to need some development. But once he hits his ceiling, he's going to be a steal for whoever someone gets him. If someone's willing to get him and put in the time, he has literally no clue what he's doing right now. And once he figures it out, it's just going to click, and he's got a chance to be a monster.
Yeah, he's I actually saw him at a showcase game during the season for Rancho Verde, and it's funny, like you said, he kind of gets it. Like he didn't play his greatest, and he kind of told Jerry Freitas and other scouts, "Hey guys, I'm sorry, I didn't really show you what I can do." Like he literally went up to the scouts and was like, "Yeah." He's like, guys, I knew this was a big opportunity for me, and I didn't play my best, but I'm gonna, get better. So he was really he gets it. He, like you said, he realizes he hasn't been in front of college coaches much, or that he hasn't had the opportunity to, with COVID and other things, that he hasn't had the opportunity to shine. So he gets it. So I hope he does really good going forward. So
on the 16s, there was a kid, Asan Huff from Bandon High School. He played really well. He's another kid starting to figure it out. I know he's got a terrific high school coach, Michael Holloway, and Holloway's raved about him for a while now, and he's really starting to figure it out. He had a very good weekend as well.
Yeah. Coach, you're in a unique situation because, again, you coach a high school team. You coach a team that can and has been and will be nationally ranked next year, but you also have your best player playing in Nike and your second best player, or one of your two best players playing in Adidas. So talk about those two guys and what you've been able to communicate with them and how they've been playing.
Yeah, I mean, you have no idea how many times I get asked that question. I mean, my thing has always been, even when I was coaching the Chuck Hayes program, I don't force my kids to play with me. I think it's good for them to listen to other voices. And, when they get in college, it's not going to be me coaching them. So, they need to get used to AAU coaches and, learning different stuff, different personalities, how to deal with different adversity. And, people have their views on what circuit's better, what circuit's not. Like I said, there's players everywhere. There's coaches everywhere. It's about fit. And, both those guys are in great situations fit-wise. Jamari with Paul George Elite and BJ with Jalen Green. They both have the ball in their hands. They both, kind of get to run the show and, play their game in front of the college coaches. And, people asked, how come you don't pull them over to West Coast Elite, stuff like that. Well, I mean, it's not really about me. So it's about the kids. So as long as they're in a good situation, I'm fine with it. And it's obviously paid off. They both had, 2 terrific live periods, and my phone's been blowing up the last couple of days. So, it's pretty much all about them. So,
yeah.
Right. Coach, you made the point that, the kids dealing with different adversities and a different voice that would that's going to help them. Would you say, like, I would say it's theory, but like, if you were to coach them school season, then summer ball, do you think maybe your voice doesn't have as much of an impact going into the fall? Or, what's your thought on that?
Absolutely. I mean, they hear me. I'm very demanding on my guys. I mean, like weights, study halls, 6 a.m. shooting practice after school. Like, they hear my voice all the time. And so I do think, when season's done, it was a long season, went all the way to the state championship. They don't need to hear me for another couple months. I mean, we still have our school workouts, this and that, but they know my personality. They know what I'm going to draw up. They know how I like my philosophy stuff, but they got to get ready for the next level. And, wherever they end up, that coach may be nothing like me. So, they're AAU coaches, that kind of gives them a little, flip the switch and see what other coaching is about.
Yeah. Coach, you mentioned Jamari and Nike. Obviously, he was named state sophomore of the year after you guys went to the state final. He had a great playoff run. And then I'm not really sure, even though, BJ last year in the spring season, BJ Davis, your 223 point guard, he made all-state underclass, but I still don't think people really knew how good he was. And then you go to the season and he's not mentioned that much. Like, is it funny to you, or what do you think that he's finally, like, people are finally realizing, like, this guy's probably a top 125 player, even higher, like, that he's really that good. And I've known he's been that good.
Others I know you were one of the first ones to jump on the bandwagon. It's wild to me. I mean, I've seen BJ's development. I mean, I've coached, him he was in the Chuck Hayes program since like 5th grade. And so I've seen him, the little skinny kid who all he could do was shoot, couldn't drive because he'd end up on the ground. Like, he just kept developing. And I remember I called Chuck one night and I was like, hey, this kid's going to be a high major guard. And Chuck was like, man, you think so? I said, yeah. Well, I said the same thing about Osiah Sellers when nobody thought, before he even had a Division I offer at MC. I said, he's going to be a high major guard. And people didn't believe me. But, kids like that, they just keep developing. And, you see the wingspan, the athleticism kicks in. And BJ's always been super competitive. And now it's like, people are starting to see. I mean, yesterday, I probably got 20 phone calls yesterday. And not just like, mid-major schools. I'm talking like top of the Pac-12, Big 12, stuff like that, where a year ago, I think people would have thought I was crazy talking about that about BJ. But, he puts in the work. I mean, during spring break, we had a bunch of our college guys come back just for workouts and stuff. And I knew this last week, and BJ was going to really, stand out on the national scene, because you could just tell he's focused, he's determined. And, Jamari's a special talent. I mean, has pro potential. Everyone knows that. And I think sometimes BJ at times kind of took a backseat to Jamari.
Sure.
Which I think most of the country would, like Jamari's that good. But I think part of the reason we went on our state run is they realized like they need each other. And, Jamari hit some huge shots, but, BJ in his own right, does stuff that we don't get to the state championship. He doesn't do. So now BJ, obviously, without Jamari there, guard AJ Johnson's obviously outstanding next to him. But BJ's special, and now he's getting to show the world, and, I'm very proud of him.
Yeah, I think I got to see BJ. Ronnie, when was that? I came to Vegas like late July. Was it? That was the first time I seen him. I'm like, man, who is this kid? And Ronnie told me that's BJ Davis. Like, and I was like, what level? I said, I think he could be high major. Me and Ronnie were talking about it. I was like, man. Then I remember I asked the kid about his recruitment. It was very, very minimal. And I was like, man, this kid. And I watched him again. Like, I had to watch him again. I'm like, yeah, he's gonna be a high major kid. So that's good to hear that. It's kind of all coming to fruition.
I had a coach call me yesterday. I think they played Compton Magic, and the coach went there to watch someone from Compton Magic, and then he watched BJ, and he had no clue who BJ was. And he started going through his papers, like, man, who is this kid? Like, trying to figure it out. So he watched the Compton Magic game. He was like, all right, I'm going to go back to their next game just to see if this kid can follow it up. And then he saw that game and was just like, man. So he said the same thing. He went and checked on who's recruiting BJ, and he was like blown away. Like, man, I think I can get this kid right now. So, Yeah, BJ's one of those kids who people are starting to wake up on.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, you obviously those are underclass players. Most of your team is underclass players, like Prince Osea and Atiti. I don't want to say his name wrong. Talk a little bit about their recruitment and how they're doing, and then talk a little bit about your guys' expectations for the 23 season.
Yeah, I mean, Prince is out there with BJ on the Jalen Green elite team.
Okay.
You know, AAU wise, you know how it is for bigs. Not a lot of stuff
Yeah.
gets drawn up for them. They don't get a lot of touches. So, I think Prince is adjusting to that. But, his recruitment is what it is. He's still a developing big. He's a rim protector. He can run the floor. I think he can step outside and shoot it, which I think some colleges know that because he did that for us a little bit. So,
Sure.
His recruitment is still kind of flying under the radar. I think he does need to kind of show a little bit more production, but his potential is outstanding, and somebody's going to get a kid, and similar to McFarland, it's like there's still some development that needs to be done. Some coaches are willing to put in that work. Some coaches will just go in the portal and go get that kid so they don't have to. So, his recruitment will be interesting. But I mean, he's an awesome kid. He's humble. He works hard, and and Imana. I mean, don't be surprised if you see him on the All-State football team next year. He went to a combine last week, and his numbers were just through the roof. I think 6'6", 260, 7-foot wingspan, and ran a sub 540. So it's like,
Wow.
you can't really teach that. And so he's going to play football this year. He's going to play left tackle, defensive end, and I do think he's got some low major, mid major basketball schools looking at him, stuff like that. But he's kind of that tweener, 6'6", 6'6.5", 4-man football that gets you paid. So
right.
Similar situation. It's like I'm not going to force my kids to just play basketball. Like he can make money on the gridiron. So I think that's what's going to end up happening with him. So
wow, that's awesome. I'm glad from either way he goes. I'm glad he has those opportunities. Yep. Coach, I want to talk to you about a little more a sensitive thing or something that's obviously out there a bit, but obviously comes to your attention, and we'd be remiss not to mention is like you mentioned with Jamari. I know independent teams are hitting him up all the time, even in the course of your guys' season. And I'm sure BJ might even get that as well one day if he's not already. What's the best advice you give them on that? And what's the best advice you've gotten from somebody you trust, like somebody you mentor, to best to keep your foundation that you built together, like, to keep your guys together and just build on what you can do and what you can control?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I just control what I can control. Try to keep our culture as best it is. I think our tradition, our alumni, they're always coming back, always around. And, our state championship run, we had alums, Chuck flew in, Richard Midgley, David Paris. Like we had guys like that coming around, coming to practice. And so we just hope that kind of shows the guys like, hey, there's something more. A lot of these prep schools, I'm not going to say all because some do a very good job.
Sure.
There's not really, the tradition, the legacy, leaving something better than you found it. Like some of these prep schools aren't even going to be around in 4 or 5 years. They're hot right now, but you're not going to have your jersey. You're not going to have your jersey hanging on a wall, unless you're the Oak Hill, Montford, somewhere like that. So I just got to trust what we do, trust our culture. It's not always, our culture is not for everyone. So, you just got to hope that kids want to be a part of that and want to stay. And, a lot of people always think the grass is greener. I think I'm in a lucky situation where, Jamari's parents are great people. BJ's parents are great people. And they've both been honest with me. Whenever schools contact them or not, they tell me. They let me know what schools they are, this and that. And so it's not like I have to kind of worry about, getting stabbed in the back or anything like that. Like I'm going to see it coming if something happens. And I think, I'm going to have an opportunity to sit down and talk to them. And if it's in the kid's best interest, I'm going to tell the kid, kid like Jamari, if he's going to go get paid, if overtime wants to go drop a bag at his door, I'm happy for him. It's like, obviously it's not great for me, but, our program will continue to go on and Jamari will go make some money. But, Jamari's parents are smart. They know, Jamari's young. He's not one of these holdbacks. Like he's young for his grade. Do you really want him getting raised by, some men who only have their best interests, in them? So got to be careful with that because you get around the wrong people, a lot can change. Jamari right now, he's a humble kid and, his parents are, are right on him. He works out every day, and he goes somewhere else. Other distractions work and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's my advice. It's like the grass is not always greener. We've had kids that have left and been like, I shouldn't have left.
Sure.
I mean, perfect example, Ozaya, it worked out for Ozaya. Ozaya's going to USC. Ozaya was back for spring break working out with us. And, him and his dad were like, hey, like prep school was great. There's a lot of positives, but, they watched our state championship run. They watched the games and they're like, man, like missing out on that environment and that atmosphere was something, you're not going to get that at prep school.
Sure.
Like Ozaya's dad was like, you're playing in front of 50 fans sometimes, we're playing at Clovis West in front of 2,500, or
no doubt
the Kings Arena in front of however many people were there for the state championship. So there's a lot of prep schools that do it right that I respect. I've even had prep schools reach out to me, like out of respect, like, hey, like letting me know what's going on. So I respect that, but there's a lot of high schools that don't get the proper, recognition as well. There's a lot of coaches that do it right, put in the work. And if you do it right and your kids are in the gym all the time, they're on top of their academics, they don't need the prep school, because then you get the high school experience with kind of the basketball prep school wise. You're going to prom, you're going to Friday night football games, and you're still getting everything you need basketball and academically. So, there's positives and negatives for both. So
appreciate that makes sense.
No, absolutely. You made a good point, saying, like Jamari's young and just going out to those prep schools. Not all of them are like this, but some is not about development. Is not first, right? It's about, you have to come in to help us win. What you can't do right now will help, but it's not something we're really going to focus on fixing. You got to help us win. And I think that's why you sometimes see kids that get out. Even in Dallas, you see that guys get out and then they come back. It's like, man, it wasn't what I thought it was. Like, they said this and that. Nothing to knock on prep school, but it's just like they got to win. I mean, you got to win too, but like you focus on development with your program. But it's just like with your players, but development is not in the forefront like those guys thought it was going to be. So I agree.
I think that's why a lot of them just wait till kids are seniors and just poach them. Like they're not going to put the time in when the kid's freshman through junior year. Let somebody else develop, and I'm going to go poach them. So,
sure.
And it's like, to me, it's like that's not right. But we're in a different day and age, and kind of got to put up with that, I guess. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Coach, we'll let you go. One more question. What's your guys' schedule? Like, are you going to be in the Scholastic Section 7 period with your Scholastic team, and then you're going to go back and coach Under Armour for July?
Yeah, so we'll be out there at Section 7. We have our tournament the weekend before, 64 teams, the MC Summer Classic. We have every open division team from NorCal and every Division I team from NorCal. We have St. Joe's from Santa Maria coming up. So 64 game NCAA tournament style bracket, and that'll hopefully get us ready for Section 7, and then back on the circuit with Under Armour in July, and then get going for our season next year.
Yeah, and that will that be? Give us the dates there so we can let our listeners know what dates the Modesto Christian tournament is in the dead period. What dates are those?
June 10th through 12th, so the weekend before Section 7.
Great. Okay, well, we'll be following it. We appreciate your time, Coach. Thank you for jumping on.
No, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, for sure,
okay. Take care. Thanks, Coach.
See you guys. Bye.
Yeah, that's good that I heard about that, and that heard that there was going to be a kind of like a prep preview for like the Scholastic period. So that's good. I know that tournament's growing. And again, that's June 10th to 12th, and then Section 7 is the next week. So, yeah, he made some great points. Coach Fantazia made some great points, and obviously has two really good players, one potentially great player. And that's good perspective, because he has one of them on Adidas, one of them on Nike, and he's with UAA. So he's keeping tabs of a lot of things, and he's very honest and candid about what his players are capable of and where they're headed, and obviously BJ's stock is going high fast. I always thought, what are you guys looking at? Like, this guy people can't stay in front of him. So I always thought, at all. They just can't stay in front of him. So, what were your thoughts on some of the things he mentioned about the prep schools and also about like the development, and maybe one of his guys is just playing football because it might be better for him?
Well, you can tell he definitely has the best interest for the kids at heart. one thing about Coach. But another thing, it's just interesting, like how he just like, man, basically he can only control what he can control, and he just let it be. Like, and I think for public schools, that's kind of the same approach some have over here. Is just like, you know, if you plan on if IMG or Montverde or where Prolific or wherever, that's what the plans is. You know, you're not going to get much fight out of it from coaches here. You're going to control what's in your program, right? And you know, ultimately, you know, if the kid wants to do that, you're not going to stop him from doing it. Even if you may convince him, hey, I think you should stay here, then they're ultimately always going to be thinking of, well, what if I went there? Like, what if I went there like initially? So I agreed with his thoughts. So you're going to control what you can control. But if you have build a strong program, I mean, you know, missing out on play, you don't have your, you know, your top players. It does hurt, but your teams generally are fine if you have a really strong program.
Sure. Yeah, you know, obviously Jamari had he's playing really well and scoring just as much as Isaiah Lee. Helene playing is just as well as anybody on that Paul George 16 team, which is a really talented team. You know, they're very talented at the 16U level. And then BJ playing with AJ Johnson, who's a guard from California, who's getting recruited very well. But like BJ is, you know, last year, like you said, it's very funny. I watched all his games at that tournament in Vegas because I thought he was the best player in the tournament, even over the 17U players. I was like, this guy's the best player in the tournament. So, you know, it's very interesting. I saw his games at Bishop Gorman, which is the main gym, but they had a 9:00 game against another D1 guard at a faraway gym in Centennial Foothills, way up there on I guess that would be the northwest side of Vegas. And there was a college coach there. I won't tell you it was in one of the Montanas, and they were there. They knew about BJ. And I said, man, these guys might be able to get him. They're on him tough. They're at every game. It was 9 a.m. They won that game, and BJ wasn't great. But then they went in the championship game, and he played really well as the game you saw. And I was like, man, I really feel bad for that school because they have have no chance. Like, and now even those other schools were at that event have no chance. Like, right. Because if he's over on Adidas in front of big time, you know, Power 5 conference schools, like he's gonna take one of those offers, and I'm happy for everybody's happy for him. But it's just funny to see that maturation and see. Well, if you're a low major or even some mid majors, you got to be pick and choose who you follow too long, because if they go too high, you're done. You know,
you're done. Once those high majors kick in, I mean, you just don't have a chance. You got to cut your losses. But he was a good one. If you're a low to mid, like, hey, I may be able to sneak one. Like, correct. And it's just funny even talking to some coaches that they come in, they're like the ones that came to Dallas, they're like, this kid, he moved to play for you know, the shoot team. I was like, he's really not playing much. He's like, we kind of want it like that. Like, we're good that he's not playing a whole lot, because we still we know he's better than our level. But if he continues to play 5 minutes a game, we're gonna have a chance.
Correct. And I'm not speaking for BJ here, but like you said, you got to keep. That was my point earlier before Brice Fantazia came on as a guest. Is you got to keep tabs on those guys, because there's injury, there's bad fits. He may come back to you. Right. You may have a shot in that portal. You know, I mean, that's kind of what we've been talking about for the last month, and we'll continue talking about it. NIL, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about the NBA draft as that gets there. And then that's very clear, you know, very close to what we're talking about with Dariq. And I want to talk a little bit about that, and we'll get back to the standouts. You know, last year with Chet winning it, National Player of the Year, Jabari finished second. And those guys look like NBA talents. Do you think with like this group, Keontae, Dereck Lively, Dariq, Whitehead, they're not really necessarily at the top of the 2023 NBA draft board? Do you think that's going to change? Do you like any one of those guys? Do you like Dariq as that high of an NBA prospect? Or you think, no, it's just a different group. They're going to develop differently, and some of them are going to be hitting the lotto. Some of them are going to have to use the second year of seasoning. Some of them are going to, you know, they're going to have to work their way up to get as high as like Cade, Evan, and Jalen Green in that 220 class, and then as high as like Chet and Jabari in the 221 class.
Yeah, it's very interesting about that 22 class, because this is deep. But like when you talk about those three, they're not guys that I view as top 3 draft picks. Like, you know, Jabari and Chet can be 1 and 2. You know, for sure they're going to be top 3. I don't see things could change. Like you said, they could develop. I don't think any of them are going to need a second year. Well, I think they'll all declare after that first, and we'll have a good enough season to be able to declare after the first. Sure. But I see more lottery, late first, kind of flirting with that early second, late first type situation. But I don't see I definitely don't see like a top 3. I don't see top 3 draft picks with those guys. But I do see that they could be one and dones. I think they'll be one and dones.
I think they'll be one and dones. Yeah.
Yeah, but that, like Chet and Jabari, like even especially when Dino's had that festival, like they were just you know what I mean? Like it just I don't see it with those 3, but good players.
Yeah, very good players. So did anybody in Dallas have like a BJ Davis type weekend where it's like this guy's recruitment is just going to go sky or higher? Was it more sleepers and guys that are under the radar and they're now getting some interest?
I think it really Dallas the kind of the I would say just like the overall tone, just the unsigned seniors. There's a kid, Jackson Fields, very interesting story. Went to Fort Bend Elkins in the summer, so I liked him last June when we had our TABC, like the Scholastic, and he was 6'5". Was a big time football player. He decided he wanted to play basketball. He's only been playing basketball for like maybe 2 or 3 years. Now he's 6'8". Has a 2+2+3 wingspan, handles it, shoots it. It's going to be interesting. I know he has a visit to Tarleton this week, but he's a kid like mid, potentially high major, type guy. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if it's all said and done. He's a high major player. Like, and making some money playing basketball. It's just weird. Like, he's grown 3 inches in the past year. He was just a post. Like, he was just literally like back to the basket guy. But I liked his energy and his hustle. Now he's like put on more muscle. He's taller. He's more athletic, like just dunking on foes, breaking dudes off the balance and finishing, pull-up game. And you're like, who the hell is this kid? Like, it had coaches scratching their head because it just, where did he come from? But he's only been playing, but he hasn't played basketball for 3 years. I think it's literally been 2 years. Wow. So he's just that 2022 that, will probably go to, is interesting, could go to a low. And then, he's one of the hot guys in the portal, going up. Like, and so you have coaches now that are like, man, I would take him if I didn't sign this or that, but I'm going to keep the relationship because I may get them like, on the come up. Like you mentioned that, like they're going to build a relationship because they may get him on the come up.
Correct. You might fall back down to your level or you might come up. I mean, you almost have to be even, again, you have to widen your net. So everybody thinks, they're not recruiting high school players. Well, if you're not, you're going to fall behind. You're going to get fired because you're not going to have nothing working and cooking in the portal. If you don't have a relationship, you're not going to have anything cooking in the portal. So that ain't true. So whatever coaches, Dino's kind of riled everybody up online and saying these coaches are lazy and stuff. If you're lazy or you're thinking you're just going to get stuff in the portal, like that ain't going to work. You know what I mean? Like you're going to have to widen your net. And again, you're not going to cast that net and get a lot of good fish, but you're going to have to, get that net out there because again, you need to have relationships. So, it's not all doomsday for the high school players. Everybody's saying 223 is going to be a little screwed. 222 is real screwed. Like, yeah, a little bit, but it's still going to, some players are still going to get through and get stuff. And some players are going to have to go to junior college and make their way up. But it's, again, some players are going to bounce around in a year or two. That's just the nature of the beast. Right.
And if they wait, like it's so, to me, this has kind of been an eye-opening just for like the really good players in the 22 that don't have anything. If you wait, like you will be a hot commodity in April. Like it's so crazy how many calls I'm getting about 2022 players because they're realizing,
didn't see one enough.
Yeah. It like, for example, a high major coach called me and was like, man, so give me about 2 weeks. I don't know if we'll get these kids or if the type of kids that we want are in the portal in 2 weeks. If not, I'm going to go get this kid. Like, and I've been getting those calls. So it's just like, if they play like they are screwed because maybe they don't have a fall signing day, and that's fine.
Sure.
But if you just continue to play it out, you'll get something in the spring because the portal,
clear itself out a little bit. Yeah,
exactly.
The guys know where they're going. Am I going to get this guy? Am I not going to get this guy? Kind of the dust settles a little bit. People kind of have an idea of where a guy's going in the portal.
Right.
Some guys in the portal are not going to have nothing.
Right. How about you? Like, was there any like a BJ Davis, like a guy that just really boosted the stock where you're at?
I think Money Williams is the one guy that people were interested in. I tweeted about him and I sent out some things about him and people were like, whoa, how good is this guy? Definitely got some phone calls. People are interested in him. Money Williams is a 6'4" shooting guard, kind of combo guard from Team Arsenal in the Bay. He plays at Oakland High School. He's 223. Played really well at the Hoop Circuit SoCal Live event. He was the one guy that drew buzz, and he's going to get more scholarship offers. I'll go over the names for the guys I thought were good at that event real fast, and then I'll jump over into the Marquee Hoops West Coast League. So I went to 2 events, so I'll just rattle them off. Latavius Morris, 225, point guard. He played for A&B Spotlight out of Trisco Heritage Academy in New Mexico. He was a good player. Man, he could break down guys and get in the key and dish. He just did a really good job on a 15-under team. Donovan Santorio, he's a post-grad for Cali Stars. He's from Austin Westlake.
I know
he's
you're talking about.
23 now. Bouncy, people kind of taking a look at him. People like him, Ani. I don't know how good of a player he was at Austin Westlake in the past, but like that extra, he's one guy that will use that year of prep school to his advantage, I believe.
I agree. I agree. When I saw he went 2023, I was like, he has a chance to be a high major player.
Okay, yeah, and he's certainly he certainly has flashes of that. He needs to be more consistent in that, and he could maybe get to the high major again. Going out of Austin Westlake in 222, he wouldn't have been able to do that. So that's very, good move for him. Jakari Miles, also from the Cali Star 17s. He's at Rest Ranch High in Valencia, California. Really good point guard, quick, can move, about 6'1", 6'2". Chris Carter, a bouncy kid from Elevate Elite National Team. He's from Shadow Hills, all the way in Coachella. Like in the Coachella Valley, like Indio, that's probably way out there in the desert by Palm Springs. So I mean, Ani, do you like Coachella, man? We got to talk about Coachella. Do you follow Coachella at all? Like, I mean, that's where his school's at in Coachella Valley.
A little bit, yes. Yes, he's out there though.
Yeah, that's out there from LA, man. So he does again, but he's a bouncy kid. Hopefully, he gets a little more looks. Cord Stansbury, his high school teammate, he's going to go to Pepperdine. So people are following that team a little bit. They have some good players. So I'm happy for him. Hopefully he gets a little looks. He's a little raw, but he's a good player. John Gazinga from Jalen Green Elite, 15s, Orange Lutheran High School. He's 6'7", 225, big, strong kid. He has a chance. Now this kid I'm talking about here might be down the line the best prospect of them all is Zion Booker. He's from Prodigy Elites 15s, 6'5", 225, Etiwanda High School, which is a state power, as you know, produced some pros in the past. And Prodigy Elite has a really good 15 and under team. And Zion is explosive. He can get to the rim. Good first step, long. He played JV as a ninth grader, but it doesn't matter that he played JV. All their ninth graders usually start on JV. Like, he's going to be a really good prospect. And he's a good player, and he's tough. And he wants to get better and wants to improve. So Zion Booker, remember that name on it. You're going to see him at the big camps and things like that down the line. Elijah Gardner, who's a 226 on that Prodigy Elite team. He's going to Damien High School, the Division I state champ, 6'4". Really good player. Look, good prospect, even more of a prospect than a player right now. Dennis Evans, who you know a little bit about, the 7-footer.
Yeah.
Inland. Left-handed block shots. People just keep watching and they just think he keeps getting better and better and better and better. Like, they want to like him. People want to like him. Like, because again, he's 7 foot. He block shot. He could be like a Keon Clark if he keeps improving. Right. Keon Clark played at UNLV. He might have even played a little bit in the NBA. Not sure Dennis is that level of a prospect, but that's what they want. That's what they want to see. So he plays for Kool-Aid on Team Inland, who's been around for decades producing players. The most interesting player I think I saw the whole weekend is William Hebron. He's a post-grad. He's going 223, but he's 222 on a small team rampage from the Bay Area. He goes to Archie Williams High School in San Anselmo. William Hebron. Remember that name. He's going to do really well down the line. He's skilled, 6'6", 6'7", can shoot the ball a bit, get to the rack with both hands. That's a player colleges probably, some of them saw. I don't want to say the name of the colleges because I don't want to hurt that kid, but I'm just going to tell you that some couple colleges noticed, and he's going to, if he stays in 223 and doesn't get anything 222, they're going to be on him, and they're going to like what they see. So how about you? How about, and did you see anybody?
Yeah, there's a kid, Keelan Dorsey out of Eisenhower in Houston, played for Houston Superstars with Jackson Fields, the 2022, like an athletic wing, really thrives in transition, long arms, finishes above the rim. Shooting's not bad. I think there's real upside with the shooting. I think it's a clean release. Just a raw player right now, but just like his defensive versatility, the way he plays with his length and athleticism was really intriguing. Had a few Division I schools that really like him, start recruiting him. His dad played. Forgot where they said he played, but has some strong basketball bloodlines. Braden Jordan plays for Team Nation 2023. Like a 6'2", wiry, strong guard, really gets downhill, athletic. Like he just one of those real athletic downhill guards that has some upside, saw some real willingness to pass, and seen him make some real like thread the needle type passes. He's an interesting player because those type of guys kind of go unnoticed, but under the right situation, I think he can be a Division I basketball player. A couple other kids like in the 22 class, CJ Luster played Team Super Session, really scores it. A lot of mid majors been calling about him. Think he has a chance, just like off the bounce, off the catch, real deep. That shoots it real deep. Very interesting kid. Trey Clayton, who won the 4A state championship as a freshman. He's in a situation he's playing as an unsigned. Yeah,
I remember that shot. Trey Clayton, yeah.
Unsigned senior, but playing as unsigned senior, but had a few Division I's come out. Had a 17-point, 16 rebound game on Saturday. Just a beast on the glass. I think the shooting's getting better, but just does so much. He's a kid I'm kind of really surprised he's a unsigned senior, but he'll definitely get something. He's a kid like you talk about, may have to go junior college, for a year, but definitely needs the Division I talent. There's a kid out of Kaufman, Dalen Dickerson, about 6'6". He's like so Kaufman, Texas is like, it's just middle, like no one knows where that
middle of
nowhere. Played at Dallas Showtime last year with Arteria Morris, Chauncey Gibson. Of course, those kids kind of on the forefront and overshadow a kid like him, but can handle it. Shot looks good, athletic as hell. He plays track. Baseball was supposed to be a football player. Like now it's just really focusing on basketball, and even has some low to mids that were like,
who is that kid?
Who is this kid? Like came down, push dribble left, crossover, went down the middle and just boomed it. Like, no one, like it just kind of come out of nowhere. Just really impressive. Houston Hoops, their 16 users were there. Trent Burns, he's like 7'1", long arms. Is like on the raw side, but can really shoot the basketball. Like what's so intriguing is like he blocks shots, but he can shoot it. Like if you let it get his feet set, really can shoot threes. Just needs to play with some more toughness. Kind of worry about how he does guarding in space, but you can't teach his size, shot blocking instincts, just the shooting. Like a very poor man's version of what's my man's name that was at Florida State that declared for the draft.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but his name escapes me right now.
Yeah,
and Hamilton has so many guys. That
right.
Like, boy, I get them confused sometimes. I know what you're talking
about. But, not as agile, coordinated like that kid, but, just can't teach what they have. Brice Jackson, a 2025 for Houston Hoops, talented, like big physical guard, has good mid-range game. Definitely think he becomes a high major player. Live on, They're 15 youth. They have a kid, Alejandro Avila, very like old school type game, about 6'7", wide frame, like footwork out of this world, like finishes right, left, that doesn't get off the floor great, but like he's just not gonna block his shot. Like he's he played, I don't know where he's from exactly, but just an international type game, like
international type game,
high field, he getting the high post, finds cutters, like just spin moves, fake spins to pulls, like all that. And then I'll say the last kid I think is going to be in that top 150 as a 24 is Divine Ugo. He played for the Houston Hoops. Really talented, about 6'2", guard, good length, very smooth, doesn't get rushed, but does a good job changing speeds and just, and like a deceptive athlete. You just, because he plays so smooth and cool, you don't think he can just get up and just play, and play above the rim, but he can. And, has good feel as a passer, like gets the ball off his hands quick, can look someone off and then make the pass. I think there's some real upside as like a bigger point guard because he's about 6'3", and I think he's still growing because he's young.
Sure.
So yeah, those are my standouts. From this week.
A lot. And like I said, I want people to go back and listen to those names, write some of them down. You're going to hear about these guys are going to be D1 players. And we always like to talk about the players, and that's our focus. And like I said, you mentioned the big kid, 7'7", That's kind of like Coach Brice Fantazia mentioned Jacob McFarland's like that. Prince Lucia, who's his own guy, who also, plays on that Jalen Green elite team. And then, like I said, Dennis Evans, who plays for Team Inland out in California. Like, these guys are so intrigued by these big guys. They want them to, come on. They want to see more. They want to see them do good. And it's like, they're going to have a chance, Obviously, size is such a huge factor in the game. Obviously, outside shooting, size, and athleticism, a combination of those. Obviously, if you have a combination of all three of those, you're Kevin Durant. But
right.
You have some little bit of each of that. What people don't understand or we don't judge as good, obviously me or you or anybody else, until you get to know people, is the work ethic. And that's where Kevin Durant separated himself as a youngster. And like I said, he's a number 2 prospect behind Greg Oden. There, nobody's going to forget that because of what happened in the draft later.
Right.
Like everybody's going to know Kevin Durant's the number 2 player in that class forever because it's, oh man, Greg got drafted a year later than him in front. And it's like, we're going to break down these prospects a little bit more. The NBA prospects we talked about, they were high school players not too long ago. We mentioned Scotty Barnes won Rookie of the Year. Toronto's trying to come back as we transition. We're going to, talk a little bit about the NBA and wrap up. We don't want to keep everybody too long. We wanted to talk about the high school players, but it also translates because we talk about Ben Simmons and how maybe he was a little coddled. It came straight from Ben Simmons was from Australia and came straight to the Pangos camp. This is his first time in America playing in 2012. And I asked Ben Simmons, I said, Ben, what do you know? This is new to you. You're obviously talented. He could pass. And he goes, no, all I know is Duke. That's all he said. He's all I know is Duke. All I know is Duke at the time. He was like a rising 10th grader or whatever. All he knew was Duke. And obviously the rest is history. Joined Montverde and became one of the best players of recent times in high school because, like you said, they won. And sometimes you think that he played around with a lot of good players, D'Angelo Russell. And I sometimes wonder, was that easy? Was it kind of easy and successful? He thought you're always going to have that success.
Right.
So when he ran into a little adversity at LSU, it's like you said, it didn't go too well. And now he's got more money than he needs to know what to do with. It's not going well, So I really think, like you mentioned, it's going to ruin it for the future for guys like who the presidents of the collective the Players Association for the collective bargaining. Those guys have put in a lot of work. You have other guys in other sports that have gotten guys the chance to be free agents that help. Because obviously the owners, before free agency, before Kurt Flood did it in baseball, the owners just could collude the salaries and keep them down. Well, obviously, Ani, if the Cardinals want you, but the Dodgers want you more, well, the Dodgers are going to offer you more money and your value is going to go up. So it's been a long 50-year process. So like, why are we going backwards here? Like, why the fans are getting screwed? I'll have to go off on this. Everything's so expensive. Gas, tickets. You mentioned you guys. What are you doing? Seems like a lot of work thrown down the drain. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree, especially like in the places that we're at. Like it's
Yeah.
expensive. I mean, it's not expensive as it is, but like
Everywhere.
get a good quality NBA ticket.
Yeah,
is very expensive. And so like the fact that, you know, and I don't want to say all these spoiled young rich millionaires and try to sound grouchy, but
no.
You know, I do wonder, do they even take into like, you know, into their mind, like, hey, like there are people that are struggling, that are paying a lot of money to come see us play, that come to see me play.
Yeah.
And I'm just not going to play because my back is sore or low management. I get if you need a couple games, but for you guys to miss half a season, to say, oh, I need this so I can play in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
You know,
because
like, so,
yeah, for sure.
Because right.
You know, I'll tell you what I mean by that. Like, I'm spoiled. That's what I mean to cut you off. Like,
no, you good.
You know, it's like you mentioned the players are spoiled. Like, I used to go to the Clipper games when the Clippers were the Clippers, Donald Sterling. The tickets were $15, but I could go see Patrick Ewing, the Dream. You know, I could go see Jordan. That was the hot ticket because it was very expensive for the Lakers. Was able to see the Lakers, and those tickets were $30, $40, $15, $20, 40, but 75 was like, ooh, 75. Like, that's a big time ticket. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm spoiled. I don't want to go to an NBA game right now. I got shit. I gotta be keyed. I gotta have a drink. I can't relax. I don't even make it in my seat because again, it's back to what you said. I can't deal with these. I don't know who's playing. Are they giving the effort I want to see if it ain't a playoff game? I'm not sure they're giving the effort I want to see because I know how hard each of them can play because I've seen it when they were in grassroots or high school, what they were capable of. So when they're loafing, I don't want to go get another drink. I don't want to see that shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
And my point is the average fan is getting robbed because they don't know. It's worse. The one is worse, and obviously I'm glad he was such a hard worker. They could understand that was Kobe Bryant. The fans here just love him to death. It's almost like an obsession, but he came to work every day and he worked hard. So, you know, like they don't understand if a guy like you would understand because you've seen him at camps, you've seen him for many years. If he's kind of dogging it or giving, you know, oh man, he ain't playing that to his level. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then he gets traded to another team and all of a sudden he's playing good again. You know what I mean? Like, I just think it's very bad and it's going to come back to bite the NBA in the ass.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And like you said, it just got like guys that you, like you said, you see in high school, you seen their competitive nature.
Yeah.
It's like, did that, and like now you ask, was that fool's gold? Or you, it's like once you get what you want, it's like whatever, you know, like, so it just, like you said, the NBA stuff needs to change. I get guys need to take a game or a couple games off. I get that. Like these kids, I think sometimes these kids play too many damn games. Like especially going from spring, summer to high school. Like I get it, but you know what will we be saying if a high school kid took 50 games off?
We're gonna the load man. If we don't get this shit right, the load management's coming to high school.
Right. Oh, it's gonna come. We're gonna start seeing. He's all because of load management. Oh, trust me.
We gotta get this right at the high level. So let's run down the NBA playoffs, and then obviously people are watching, so we don't have to spend too much time on it. And we'll start with the Western Conference. Timberwolves and Grizzlies are 2-2 in an entertaining series.
Yeah.
The Mavs lead 3-2. Man, Jalen Brunson, wow, he's playing, and then Luka came back, so they're up 3-2. The Suns and Pelicans deadlock at 2-2. Now CP3 up and down with Devin Booker out. The Warriors up in 3-1, and as the Nuggets avoided that sweep. And then in the Eastern Conference, 76ers, we mentioned that earlier, they're up 3-2, but the Raptors are gaining some momentum. The Bucks take a 3-1 lead on the Bulls. Obviously, the Bucks are kind of my pick out of the East. The Heat up 3-1 on the Hawks. They just look more weapons and they're more physical. Atlanta was playing that regular season ball, looked like a bit. And then the Celtics swept the Nets, so they're advancing. Let's just talk about a little bit about what happened to the Nets. Like that's the only team that's already advanced. As you listen to this pod, obviously more games will happen early this week. But what happened to the Nets? Are they just too much outside distractions and they couldn't put it together?
I think it's a mix of that. I think there's outside distractions, can never play enough games together, can never really get like some cohesion. But the Celtics aren't a good matchup. I mean, they don't have one thing the Nets don't have is a lot of athletic wings. Yeah. And with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, I mean, you got Seth Curry, Patty Mills, Kyrie Irving. I mean, that's nice and all, but they can't go. I mean, they're just not.
That ain't gonna get it done. Yeah.
Right, they're not big enough to guard Boston. And I thought Boston really used their size against them. I mean, but a lot of outside distractions. You go from James Harden to go to Ben Simmons. I mean, which one's worse? Shit. I mean, Katie heard Kyrie not being able to play games because the whole the vaccination deal, and I just thought Boston was just way better.
They're just a better team.
Yeah, they're a better team. Brooklyn doesn't have enough. They need to get big athletic wings to be able to compete if they're going to take that next step with this group.
Gotcha. Yeah, and then we'll see what happens with that group. I don't know if any other series caught your eye. I just think the Hawks, everybody's like, Chelsea would mention, I really like the playing game, and the playing games were good. And she talked a lot about Suns not being injured. And sure enough, when we talked about that, and now CP3 is a little up and down. Alvarado's really getting in them defensively, and then my team out the East, the Bucks, Middleton is now hurt with his MCL. Right. So we've had these injuries just in the last week, and we talked about the Suns being relatively injury free, and now here comes the injury bug. And with the Hawks, I just think again, when you're CP3, when you're Trae Young, when you're any great guard, when you're any great small guard, you gotta put them guys on their wallet. That was always the thing when I grew up. You gotta put a small guard on his butt once in a while. Get in them and see if that changes things. And it seems like I don't know if that's the case, or maybe or do you think Trae Young's just on a cold shooting streak? Because if I'm the other coach, I'm telling people, get in them, foul them as hard as you can without getting injury or getting like a flagrant. Make him work. But what do you see there?
I agree with you on that take. I think it's very similar to like when Steph Curry, kind of like what Cleveland did. Was that 2017 where they beat them? Yeah, 2017. Very similar. I think you just get real physical with him. You bump him. You foul him hard, and I think at Trae has an off shooting, but his legs are not as fresh because he's taking that contact every possession. And they're going at him defensively. So he's not taking breaks either on that end either. So I agree with you. Like, I think getting someone small, pesky, get up in him, be real physical with him, bumping him a lot and attacking him defensively, he'll have a 30-point game. Like, you can only maintain Trae. Like, you can't stop him. But you can make him have to really work and have inefficient shooting nights if you just continue to go at him. I think it's very similar to what Cleveland did with Steph, and they were successful on that.
Yeah, for sure. I that's what I was looking at. If you got a guard in the NBA under 6'2", 6'3", you guys better get – and he's their best player. You better get real physical with them. And, this has been a great playoff. It's been so interesting so far. There's a lot of balance. Like I said, not a lot of dominant team, especially now with Phoenix, that being open,
Right.
Booker, that series is just up and down, and the Pelicans are playing great. I mean, we kind of talked about Amani Bates and how silly the KD comparisons are, and I mentioned, I thought, guys, maybe if he's Brandon Ingram, that's a pretty good comparison. I'm not even sure. It's really good. Brandon Ingram may be really too good. Like, that's
really good. Like now it's like the money.
Sure that comparison be good either no more.
Right. And it's like if you can be half of Brandon Ingram, and no defense of money, like you be half of Brandon Ingram, like shit, you doing a good job. Like Brandon Ingram he looked like he's about to become a superstar.
Yeah. And again, what do you do there as we close up? What do you do there with Zion Williams? Like, I don't understand the Zion Williams things. I understand his injury, and I don't want to compare it to any other players, but like, why are we seeing clips of him going through his legs dunking? Like if he's warming up for, if he's warming up for an Adidas circuit, like, I don't understand that. What is that? He's out of shape and he's dunking in warm-ups. and then he's kind of just goofing around on the bench. I don't understand that. What's going on there? What do you see?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I don't think New Orleans really knows what the hell they want to do with that situation. I think they play that day by day. They're just as clueless as we are. Hell, like, you know, they had to be thinking like.
Yeah.
For me, I was just when I see him, he kind of every time the camera's on him, he's always goofing around. Or I wouldn't say goofing around, like he's always laughing, whatever, having a good time, regardless.
Yeah.
I almost was like, dude, are they just going to drive his value up and then trade him? Like when they can, or do you keep him? How well does he gel with the nucleus that you have? Right. You know, does he help you? You know, okay, let's say you get to the second round and you lose, or they're a first, second round team. I don't think they get past second round.
Sure.
Does he make you become a Western Conference Finals player? Like. That's what they're going to have to answer, and that's why I don't think they know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Are they holding? How's that gonna affect Ingram's development?
Right.
Like, you know, he's gonna get more shots. You're gonna build a lot of things around Zion. So they got some questions to answer. Like you said, I don't think they have the answers right now. They're just gonna ride this core and see how far they can get in this playoffs, and that there's nothing wrong with that. So, yeah, I'm glad for Brandon Ingram. Obviously, Lakers fans are always lamenting about that, like, oh God, we traded a superstar. It's happened with Lonzo Ball. Now it's happening with Brandon. Giving away everything. Poor Chelsea's, her team is just in the gutter, in the cellar. You know, it's just like that's just the way it works. And we'll keep following this. I think that's going to wrap us up for this week. We appreciate Brice Fantazia coming on. Obviously, we're in the deep of the playoffs. Like I said, we're going to continue to talk about NIL. We're going to talk about the portal. We're going to bring those up and in more detail in the future. We're going to talk about the NBA draft, so be getting ready for that. We'll have a live draft. Most likely have a live kind of like a draft party like we've done in the past. You know, go over our picks, what we like, what we don't like, and we'll queue up some of the things that have been good of what we've come across in the last few years, and we'll keep the pod rolling. So we really appreciate you guys listening in. Appreciate you guys watching on YouTube. Continue to watch that YouTube. Tell people, tell your friends. Ani, we got to get some, you know, how we get people, hey, go tell your friends. We need a slogan like Alpha Beta, tell your friends. I don't know if you remember Alpha Beta, but it was a supermarket.
Yes, I remember.
They had a nice slogan.
we do need a slogan.
Yeah, we need like go see Cal or something like that. You know, don't get a lemon. I mean, those are great slogans. We need something to get people. More and more people. But we do on a real note, we do appreciate the people listening in each week on Spotify. You can find us on iTunes. Again, make sure you tune in at ballslife.com for our latest releases. We just released Mr. Basketball USA. Congratulations to Dariq Whitehead, who's going to Duke. Again, shop.ballslife.com. You can get your one-time discount code if you haven't already. Use the code PAINT15 to get discount on our good gear. Ani, have we got you any gear yet, or are we still lagging over here?
Still lagging a little bit. You know, I talked to Brad. I was just like, Brad, he's in Dallas. I said, Brad, I need some gear. He said, I got you. I said, man, just give me like 2 T-shirts. I know you got like thousands of them in your house. Like, just give me 2 T-shirts.
Yeah, we'll get you something. We'll try to get you a polo or something you can rock on out there and on the show. But I think for that we'll wrap up this week, episode 127. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, Ani and Ronnie are logging off.
Peace.